while people trickle into the meeting. Again, those of you who just joined, thanks for joining us on our Black Diamond training webinar today. Before we get started, we'll give people just a few minutes to join us here in the room, and then we'll get going in just a few minutes. So for all of those of you who have just joined, we're going to pop over to the next slide. And while folks are trickling in, we'll go ahead and go over just a few introductory items for the webinar. So Jason, if you could go to the next slide. All right. So as everyone joins us today, please go ahead and join with your first name and last name. And then we like to have fun during our webinars, and we love for people to ask us questions. So if throughout the presentation that you have kind of a burning OneStream question that you want to ask our roundtable, go ahead and use the Q&A feature in Zoom to do that. And we'll go ahead and answer those questions throughout the session and then also at the end. And then be ready for some polls. We're in class, this is training, and so there are going to be some pop quizzes along the way, so we encourage you to participate. That's something that we do regularly in our weekly roundtable session, so we want to incorporate some of that feel here. And then just so everybody knows, it will be after this session, we will send out these slides and also a link to the recording, so you can go back and watch it at any time. All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some introductions before we get into the presentation today. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Shauna Guzzo. I'm the managing director here at Black Diamond. Been with the company for about 5 years, and I have the pleasure recently of heading up the expert roundtable, which you'll get to experience during our webinar today. With me is Kateri, my co-host, who will be helping with today's webinar. And then let's go ahead and do some brief introductions with our roundtable members. We've got Jason Carver and Melissa McAdam with us today. They are our roundtable training champions and senior OneStream architects. You'll be hearing quite a bit from them today. And then we also have Selvin and Vincent with us today, who are also our roundtable members. You'll hear them throughout the roundtable discussions, who are also some senior OneStream architects as well. Now that we've taken care of some introductions, just want to let people know just a little bit about Black Diamond Advisory. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we're the largest global OneStream software consulting firm in the world, and we operate in the US, Canada, EMEA, and APAC. Just a little bit more about us on the next slide is that we're the leader in complex FP&A solutions with about 135 OneStream consultants globally, many of our consultants being lead architects, and we have about 150 OneStream implementations under our belt. All right, so now that we've gotten through some of the introductory items, let's go through our agenda so you guys know what to expect today. And hopefully this looks exciting to you, as these are the things that we'll be covering. So we'll spend just a few minutes on the expert roundtable, kind of what it is and where it came from. And then we'll dive in with Jason leading us through some XFBR training. And then he'll lead us in an engaging XFBR roundtable discussion. After that discussion, we'll turn it over to Melissa, who's going to take us through some dazzling dashboard training. And then she will lead the team in a roundtable discussion of dashboards. And then finally, we saved the best for last. We wanted to end with some knowledge nuggets from our roundtable, which are the top 5 must-knows in OneStream. This coming from this collective group with 50+ years in OneStream. We thought it would be pretty cool to share what each of them thinks is kind of the top 5 must-knows in OneStream. So we will have that portion at the end of the presentation. Now we'll go ahead and move on to just a quick intro about the expert roundtable and where it came from. So on the next slide, what you're going to see is this is Black Diamond's Center of Excellence. As everybody knows, OneStream is a technology a little bit newer to the market, especially compared to maybe an older generation of the Hyperion products that's been around for a long time. So we have a lot of consultants who are, learning the technology. And so in order to develop, our own OneStream consultant community within Black Diamond, we decided to set up a center of excellence within Black Diamond, where our more junior consultants could come on a daily basis and basically ask questions of our more senior technical consultants. So what you see on the screen here is kind of a representation of kind of our more senior technical consultants in OneStream who kind of sit in these office hours, making themselves available to answer questions and do some troubleshooting with the rest of the consultants in our company. So we looked at this as a way of developing OneStream talent at Black Diamond. And we thought, well, why don't we make something like this available to all OneStream customers? Basically, all of our kind of mind share that we have around OneStream and OneStream technology and make that available to OneStream customers. And so that's what we did launching earlier this year. We launched the roundtable, and I'm going to pass it over to Katie, who's going to tell us just a little bit more about what takes place there at that roundtable.
Great. So we've heard quite a bit about what roundtable. Well, what is the roundtable? So our BDA architects are well known in the industry as just top tier knowledge and SME in OneStream. So this is an opportunity for once a week for us to meet with OneStream administrators and OneStream customers who want to learn more about their tool, what OneStream is, get one-on-one sessions with the architects. We meet on a weekly basis, and also get insights and feedback in from their peers. We have group discussions either on the topic at hand or any issues that they might be experiencing or seeing currently in their application. We also provide all the trainings available to the roundtable members and are recorded as from all the trainings that we do. So those are available unlimited for our roundtable members.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. I really appreciate that introduction. Now we're going to move into the section that everybody's been waiting for. Thanks for bearing with us. So we are going to turn it over for our first trainer, Jason Carver, to tell us everything that he's got prepared today on XFBR. So Jason, take it away.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, we can hear you.
Excellent. Well, good morning, everybody. Excited to be here and talk about one of my favorite features in OneStream, which is the extensible finance business rule. Now, this is going to be necessarily short. We're not going to do a deep dive, but the idea is that you'll all get a chance and a little sample of what our expert roundtable is like for our customers that are subscribed or take trials and what have you. So this is going to be a small part of one of them. And we're going to talk about what an XFBR is, some common use cases. I'm going to give you a technical example. I mean, we're going to go actually get into the application. One thing we do on pretty much every expert roundtable is that we do live demos. We get in there. If something's goofy, we fix it right there in front of everybody. And last of all, I want to make sure to have some fun. So, Katie, if you can bring up poll number 1. Mm-hmm. I would be very interested to see, the audience's response to that. And while the audience is talking about that or putting in the polls, I'm going to mention that, it's fun being a consultant and getting to see all these different kind of challenges. So I'm going to talk about one of my clients here and a challenge that I solved. Now, I'll tell you that if somebody that signed up came, I worked with her company and it inspired this presentation. So I hope that she is on. I'm not going to call her out because she'll be embarrassed, but it was a lot of fun to work with her and I hope she's here.
Okay, so Jason, we have some poll results in.
Excellent. What do we see?
Okay.
All right, that's a great mix. And I think I'm glad that I didn't get too darn technical on this for the first one. So let's go ahead and get into the use case here, or what we're trying to solve. So, all right. So I've got a client, and the client's name is Cuddle Courier Company. The CEO is Ted, and he said, Jason, can you help me with something? My company moves pets to loving homes internationally, but these aren't just the only pet. These aren't just ordinary pets. These pets have SAT scores that'll get them into Harvard. These are the smartest animals on the planet. They've had bad experiences on flights, just like all of us have, because the quality of air travel these days is, how should I say, they just throw hay down on the floor for you just to keep you moving. So the pets have had bad experiences. They demand to be moved around on cruise ships. But Ted is very affectionate with his pets, and he wants to make sure they're doing really well. So he wants to know, where are those cruise ships at any given time? Can you give me a OneStream dashboard that does it? And I said, Ted, I think I can help you. All right, so let's first talk about the introduction to an extensible finance business rule. That's what XFBR stands for. But the idea is you can use an XFBR almost anywhere a string is needed. So imagine if you've got some component in a dashboard and you want it to be formatted, you can, and you put in, background color equals blue. Well, you could put in an XFBR that evaluates some other condition programmatically and changes it. And during our expert roundtable, we did a series of this where we got a little bit silly. For instance, if it was in the first half of a minute, the background color would be red. If it was the second half of the minute, the background color would be blue. And the idea was just to demonstrate the capabilities and ease people in. So one other thing we do on our expert roundtables, we make the rules available to anybody who wishes to have it, so they've got a starting point. All right, so let's jump in here in just a moment. And the thing about it is that I want you to take away, if you take away nothing else, is this proves that OneStream is the greatest platform of all time. It allows you to use the richness of OneStream, but have all the power of your imagination and skills to develop software on software, which I think is fantastic. Now, this isn't the only thing that makes it an awesome platform, but this is one of the components. All right, so let's talk about use cases, and I'm not gonna hit all of them here because we are going to talk about that once I can kind of conclude what I'm going to show here. But it's very common to use XFBRs on cube views where you need to get special rows or columns or hide or have dependent combo boxes. Dashboards, you can do bespoke expansions. We're going to use it in a parameter today. We're going to use a nested XFBR where we use an XFBR inside of an XFBR. So I think that's going to be a fun use case. All right, so some basics. First of all, the letters XFBR are very sacrosanct in OneStream. Don't try to use that string of letters for any other purpose. I don't know exactly where every single place will break that you try, but I have a feeling that if you tried to create a member called XFBR, it would get very fussy with you. I wouldn't even use it in a description. But nonetheless, it's very intentional on how it's used and why. So it can go almost anywhere that string is needed. You're going to see a live example of that here in just a moment. By the way, these pets are part of the Cuddle Courier Company, and they're all generated via AI. So hope you're having a good time with the images that artificial intelligence generated. It's not unlimited, but it does give you a ton of programming optionality. And we can talk a little bit about some of the limitations as well as what we can do. But it's so exciting when you start getting in there and you do your first one and it's really basic and you see how it works. And then you do your next one. It is something that every administrator ought to dabble in because it gives them power that they never really thought of in the old HFM world. All right. So I'm going to now toggle a little bit between OneStream and this slide deck to tell you a little bit about how we're solving for Ted's map that he needs. So Ted needs to see where his ships are. Well, every ship has an MMSI, which is like a license plate for a ship. It's unique to the ship. I created 3 simple dashboards. I have metadata that has the ship's names in it, a text field in the metadata that has the MMSI, and then some very simple dashboards with some very simple components that leverage an XFBR. So let me now go out of full screen, and I'm going to toggle, and I'm just going to show you around a little bit inside of OneStream what I'm talking about. So first of all, I'm in Dimension Library. You can ignore all of these other things because this is our training app that we use for all kinds of demos and our expert roundtable. So you can see we've done a lot of different things. But here I have a UD5 that is called SHIP, ER Expert Roundtable. And then it was in the top 10 presentation and SHIP. And under it, I've got 3 cruise ship, Harmony of the Seas, Wonder of the Seas, and Icon of the Seas. If you ever get a chance to go on a cruise with Royal Caribbean, these modern ships are quite amazing and a lot of fun. I'm sure our pets are having a wonderful time. So I'm going to click on one of these, and I'd like to call your attention to this text 1. So down here, you see that 311-000-396. That is the MMIS associated with that ship. And that's important for some of the other things that I wish to show. So inside, I've got 3 simple dashboards, and I've created these dashboards, and the components are very, very simple. So my main one just has the 2 dashboards, and it's because I wanted to have a top pane and a bottom pane. And it's set up like a grid so that my top pane is just some easy selections. The bottom pane is going to be the exciting stuff that you'll see here in a minute. The bottom pane has a web component in it. And that web component is going to show where that ship is located based on the MMSI. All right, we'll keep on going here. The other components are the fact that we have some parameters. And so I need to get that text 1. And then I need to go and construct that in a URL. So in an XFBR, the thing I will tell you is when it sees the letters XFBR, it calls it. It got to tell it what the function is. You have to tell it that's the function there. This is the rule. This is the function. And if there are any parameters, you need to pass it. Well, guess what? I'm using the ship, and I'm passing the ship name as another XFBR. So if I go to business rules and I look at it, here I'm getting the ship's MMSI. It's going to the UD5. It's pulling the text 1. Now, if you're not a BDA customer, you'll notice that I've got a very little simple code snippet, but you can do this programmatically without BDA's accelerators if you wish. But the whole key is, if I come back to my parameters, you'll notice that it's a literal parameter. It's got text in here that's got a URL. And then that URL, if you were to ever see it in a web browser, it would have the number of the MMSI. This XFBR looks up the MMSI and substitutes it on the fly. So if we were to jump back in and look at what that does in the actual dashboard, I'm going to go and run the main dashboard. Now, one thing I will show you, I'm going to go back here. I did show you the components. And if you want this deck for a reference, this deck shows you, hey, I'm going to invoke the rule. That's my name of the rule. That's the function. That's the ship. And then I'm going to go in, and before I show this dashboard, I'm going to say a disclaimer. I'm using a free website that shows the ship, and it's funded by ads. The ads may be random, but I can tell you what, it's not based on any history. It's not based on anything. So if something comes up that's a presidential candidate that you don't like, it's not because we're endorsing it. It's because Google assigns the ads to the website that's pulling up this image. All right, so I'm going to run the dashboard, and I'm going to maximize OneStream, or make this a little bit smaller. And notice it's got Harmony of the Seas here. And I'm going to roll on down So I have a parameter here with a combo box. I've got the MMSI, and it's showing the real-time location of harmony of the seas, what kind of a ship it is. If I select this and I select Wonder of the Seas, it's going to refresh this sheet and it's going to bring me Wonder of the Seas, because now it's looking up a URL based on a different ship's MMSI. And of course, we still have the obnoxious ads because this is a free website, but nonetheless, it'll tell you where the ship's at, where it's headed, where it's been, and where it's going. And the cool thing about all of this is every bit of this is made up with probably less than 10 components total and an XFBR. So to conclude, before we have a group discussion, where does an XFBR not work? Well, I will tell you that trying to use it within conditional formatting can have its challenges. I've tried using it in slice security filters, but there's an order of operations that goes wrong and it won't evaluate the XFBR for slice security. Lastly, if you need to have visibility into the data, you'll probably have to go into a custom member list or a finance business rule instead of an XFBR, because XFBRs generally don't pull data and evaluate it. All right, so let's jump in as a team and talk about it, and then we're going to transition to Melissa. But Vincent, I'll start with you. What's maybe one of your favorite uses of an XFBR?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I love using XFBRs for building columns and row sets in my cube views, because I have a lot of control over things like what rows do I actually want to show up. A little bit more advanced, but particularly very useful is if you have a lot of data on a very sparse set of rows, and you want to get maybe a lot of dimensions across the top, for example. Let's say you want to do UD1, UD2, UD3, UD4, and still have suppression work and still have the cube view not run at snail's pace. Going back in the XFBR and actually, in this case, querying the data and figuring out where the data is in advance, and then creating row sets and based on that data, and then returning those row sets in my XFBR, so that when the cube view runs, it already is going to return only the rows where it knows there's data. So that's probably my most favorite example, if I can geek out a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, it reminds me, one of them that I really love is if I'm putting together a dashboard, and I love dashboards because you can guide the user experience. I love that you can just use an XFBR on the is visible property, and you can hide columns, you can hide components, and make them pop up so that only the things relevant that a user needs to select show up.
Yeah, like a button, for example.
Yeah.
If you have a button that's calculate all, I would not have that button show up for everyone. I would have that button show up just for the administrator, but I don't want to build a second dashboard. So yeah, absolutely, I would do just like you said, Jason. I would build an XFBR that checks the security group of the user and says, well, this button needs to be visible or not visible, depending on a group setting like that.
So Melissa, same question for you, and then I want to close out with a quick technical bit with Selvin before we jump into your dashboarding dazzle.
I like using XFBRs for, cube view helpers. We use that frequently with cash flow and consolidation. So I really enjoy using it for that purpose.
Excellent. So Selvin, just kind of rounding this out, talk a little bit about some of the technical things that you would want somebody to know, kind of getting started in XFBRs, because I know there are places where you say, hey, this isn't necessarily the best place for that, or this is the best place for that. What are kind of your early kind of introductory thoughts on such a matter?
I've seen people doing all sorts of stuff with XFBR. I once even saw someone generating or creating a member when you were passing things around. I wouldn't necessarily do it there. Those are, yes, you can do it. OneStream allows you to use graphic calls everywhere, but nobody would be thinking that you are going to create a member from an XFBR. Kind of like a shameless plug, I work for the BDA's product team, and we do have a function from our utilities where you can call an XFBR from any business rule rather than declaring a public function and then attaching the business rule as a reference and everything. You can just say bda.xfbr, pass in whatever parameter that you pass, just like how you call an XFBR in any rule that you want to have. So it just goes in and grabs that in from there. So we do have those features in there where you can just call an XFBR from any rule type in OneStream.
So that is a shameless plug.
Yes.
But what I will tell you is it's a really great one because,
Yes.
you know, for those not familiar with the programming, OneStream programming you can do things in a lot of lines. You can do anything, but Selvin his group has built a lot of simple code accelerators that you can put in one line and it's like a library and does a ton for you.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing because I want to make sure Melissa has plenty of awesome time for her dashboard dazzling.
Thank you, Jason.
Yep.
Right. Clean some of this up. All right. Today, we are going to cover a few different items during this dashboard training. So we're going to talk about charts, advanced charts in the BI viewer. I'll do a couple demos showing you how to create QView data adapters and connections. I'll do a demo of a SQL data adapter with the BI viewer and another demo with some data visualization components. Go ahead with poll 2. So for those of you who can see this, I'll give you some time to answer. Catering, let me know when we're good to go.
I will. And poll 2 says, does your organization use custom dashboarding in OneStream? And if so, have you built any of them?
Give everyone a few minutes.
I'll tell you something, Catering. I went to a conference where another partner implemented OneStream and they used dashboards that I built in their presentation. So as Mark Twain says, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
That it is, Jason. Good.
But it did irritate me just a little.
I'll post the answers, Melissa, into the group chat since they're longer responses, so we can keep moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Catering.
Thank you.
All right. So for my presentation, I am working with a company that is called Ecosphere. They're an innovative company providing sustainable energy solutions. They are promoting greener lifestyle, but offering a range of renewable energy technologies such as solar panels, wind turbines, and energy efficient appliances. So they came to me with a challenge. Their recent challenge was managing revenue and projecting revenue streams from their resources, such as solar panels, batteries, turbines, and generators. They really needed accurate forecasting and a visual understanding of their revenue streams. And then they also have some significant costs with maintaining solar panels, such as compliance costs, material, and labor. So my requirements were to create interactive dashboards displaying real-time revenue from Ecosphere, breaking down their income streams by the source, and then also give them some detailed expense report tracking solar panel costs and highlighting areas where Ecosphere can reduce their spending or reallocate their funds if necessary. So there's several ways, different options when it comes to visual graphic displays within OneStream. Piggybacking off of Jason's comment mentioning that OneStream is the GOAT. This is absolutely true when it comes to dashboarding as well. So we'll be talking about basic charts, advanced charts in the BI viewer, but there are many other components for visualization that we won't have time to cover today. This is an example of a basic chart. It's very easy to use and very easy to stand up. There is less customization available to you, however, but they're really easy to put together. To build a basic chart, you can use a cube view as your data source, very simple. You would then create and connect a data adapter in that case, select your chart type, label your axes, set your data series to a cube view, and then there's also additional detail in the design reference guide for additional chart types that are available to you. So to set up a basic chart, you would simply create a chart component, attach your data adapter, create the dashboard component and attach the graph. You need to do this step to view the graph, and then update your settings as needed. So I gave you a little screenshot in the previous slide, letting you know what needed to be accomplished. So here's a demo, and here's what we'll go over. We'll set up a data adapter from a cube view, embed the chart in the dashboard to see the changes, change your chart types, changing axis titles, and adding additional parameters and combo boxes. So I will pull over the dashboard components that I have in our roundtable OneStream display. And the first chart that we were creating is going to be a basic chart. I created a chart component titled Ecosphere Revenue, and I labeled it a basic chart for the purposes of this demonstration. I've also attached a data
Melissa,
adapter to it.
sorry, Melissa, if
Yeah.
your screen is still
Oh,
showing the PowerPoint.
sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me actually share my screen. Apologies for that. I'll share screen 3. Thank you, Vincent. Apologies. All right. So as I was mentioning, I've created a chart basic component. I've named the chart type a bar. I've given it a title. I've labeled my axis for revenue. And I've also selected QView as the data series. If I navigate to the data adapter section, I can see that I have a data adapter attached called Ecosphere Rev. And if I navigate to the actual data adapter itself, you can see that I've selected a cube view, and the cube view for selection is the Ecosphere Revenue cube view. Can actually play that. It's part of my cube view group within my dashboard section. And if I play it, you can actually see what the cube view looks like and the data that I'll be using to generate my chart. If I go back to my dashboard and the chart section here, you'll notice you can't actually play this from this area. So it helps to put it into an actual dashboard so that you can see it and its actual use case. So I simply attached once I created the data adapter and I've attached the data adapter to the chart, I've then added my chart into a dashboard component so that I can play this and actually see it take place. So now I've got a representation of my basic chart. All righty, going back to our slide deck, we're talking about the advanced chart now. So the nice part about the advanced chart is that you have more customization options. You can attach a data adapter with a cube view or even a business role. You can customize your number formatting, your background lines, labels, legends, colors, and more. You can have a secondary access with a business role. You can combine multiple graphs on one interface. And it can be more difficult to understand and use as you can't see updates as you make them. So looking at an advanced chart, here's what we'll go over. We will talk about changing your chart type, point labels, formatting the legend, the axis, and changing your series colors. So I'll go back to our advanced chart option here, and you can see I've done a similar dashboard or a component labeled chart advanced. I also am using a data adapter in this case the same data adapter for revenue, which is still a cube view. So same cube view, but I get a few more options when I use the advanced chart. If I scroll through here, you'll actually see a lot of different options available to me. So I can change things, change my diagram type to whatever I would like it to look like. Again, I have options with the legend. I can show it, I can choose not to show it, rename the title. I can also change its position. We can include some crosshairs if needed in here. Additional details with regards to what axis will look like. I can change my text format for the axis. And if you notice while I'm hovering over these, OneStream gives you some text indicators letting you know what you can and can't do with these details. Gives you additional information about what that text format needs to look like. If I keep scrolling, you'll see I still have options available to me for the axis and different series properties, such as would I like a bar side by side? How should this be displayed? Extra details available to you there. And you can also change your series colors. So in the first chart, you'll notice it was very green and orange and kind of standard looking, but I've decided to change a couple of the colors in my series components to give it a little bit advanced detail. Once again, I can't actually play this from here, so I've attached it into a dashboard component. And you'll see that I have my chart revenue in the advanced chart attached to my advanced chart dashboard. So when I play this, I'll get a prompt, and now I actually have a new dashboard displayed with different colors, my revenues listed over here on the right, different revenue types, color components listed, and different number formatting across the chart. And finally, we're going to talk about a BI viewer. This is actually my favorite, personal favorite for building dashboard components. What's really nice about it is that it allows you to view changes as you build, which can be really intuitive, and it's a little bit simpler to work with. You can actually see things as it's happening, and what your dashboard will look like when you're done with it. The data adapter can be created using several different command types. You can build several components within one overarching component. Instead of building those separate charts as you saw that I built previously, with the BI viewer, I can bring several components together in one. It's a great way to also present data that's not in the cube using custom tables. Unfortunately, it's not compatible with books, but you can export it out. So for a basic setup, to set up a BI viewer, you simply create the BI viewer component. Always, you're going to need to attach a data adapter. Once you do that, you can go to the BI Designer tab and select items that you'd like to add. You can add and convert duplicate items. You can add filter elements that apply to all or some of the components. And then you can also add some cards to show additional details. So for the demo, we'll create a data adapter using CubeUMD. We'll change our chart type. We'll go through some design options, edit colors, create a data adapter with a SQL statement, and we will recreate the Ecosphere cost dashboard, show pivot grid options, and master some filter elements. So navigating back into OneStream, you'll notice I have a couple of different BI viewer components that I've created. So going back to what I was talking about, what's really nice is that I've created a data adapter with this Ecosphere cost data adapter. I'll navigate to that so that you can see what this is doing. This is actually a SQL command that I'm pulling details in from a table that I personally created. So solar panel costs, I created an independent table to actually load details regarding solar panel costs into OneStream and put it into this particular table. The way that I did that is through our BDA SQL tool editor, which allows you to work with SQL and the tables within OneStream. I actually created this table and loaded details for different solar panels, different cost categories, amounts, some subcategories related to the cost category. I also included the weights for different solar panels and their lifespans. This is detail that I decided I didn't want to load into the cube, so I instead used a SQL insert statement and created my own table so I could generate these components for you. So I've done that. I've now got a very basic SQL statement selecting all those details that I loaded into that solar panel costs. And I created a BI viewer titled Ecosphere Costs, attached my data adapter, and now I can actually see my designer here. Once I get to the designer option, I have different things I can do in this area. You'll notice that I've created 3 different components and also included a filter option in here, allowing me to look at different costs related to my solar panels. I also included a couple of cards just showing my average lifespan for all of my solar panels and weight for each of them as well. Lifespan is important because they don't last forever, so this detail was important for me to know. What's nice is that I can drag and drop items into here. I can add additional components if I'd like. I can move them around, and I get to see this detail in real time. I can also remove it if I decide that I don't want that component any longer. I'm going to undo that. Once I've added all these items into the BI viewer, I can then do pretty much anything I want with the dashboard components. You'll notice here, I actually added my Ecosphere expenses BI viewer component here and attached it as its own dashboard. I can play this, and now I can see all of that I created in that BI viewer in a nice dashboard for presentation. Additional things you can do with these are allowing you to do drill down components and other details within a dashboard. I also have my Ecosphere revenue charts. If I play this dashboard, you'll actually see all of the charts that we talked about previously in an embedded dashboard all together. So I have my basic chart, my advanced chart, and then I also have a BI viewer displaying my actual forecasts together with different revenue streams and what that information is made up of. Other components.
Just a quick
Yeah.
time check.
Thanks, catering. That's actually the end of this, my presentation. So let's kick it over to my colleagues and see what you guys have to say about dashboards. How about let's start with Selvin. Have you used dashboards? What do you like to use dashboards for? I know you've used dashboards.
Well, I don't use dashboards. So whenever people ask me like, well, why do you have dashboards in OneStream? The answer that I used to give was, think about Partner Place. Partner Place is nothing but a dashboard. That's what it is. So you don't have to just have charts or grids on dashboards. You can do whatever you want in a dashboard there. So like I said earlier, I'm working with the product team. Most of the scenario, like when we create dashboards, those are not for financial purposes. Our dashboards are completely different. The one that Melissa was showing where you can run a SQL, that's a dashboard. So yes, do a lot on that. The one thing that with the BI viewers, I'm thankful that it is there, because earlier, if you had to create charts out of a SQL data component, if you are playing with all SQLs, you had to write business rules to get those. But with now, just BI viewer, you put a data adapter in there, and then off you go. You can create it. So done it the hard way. Now it's easier.
Thanks, Selvin. Jason, I know you just had a really cool dashboard demonstration right before me. So can you maybe give us a use case, something that you use all the time?
Absolutely. So I love the flexibility of a dashboard that allows you to guide the user experience a certain way and make somebody who doesn't have a master's degree in the metadata, can't move around in the ad hoc tool fast, an executive or somebody who's only in the OneStream a few times a month can go in and very easily understand the data. And I will say, I don't know if you guys would agree or disagree, but I think one of the most brilliant dashboards ever created is called guided reporting. And anybody who's ever seen guided reporting, when it first came out, it wasn't all that great. And I learned to build dashboards because it wasn't all that great, but it is fantastic now. You can just hit discovery, it figures out parameters, it puts combo boxes. The brains that were behind creating that were world class for sure.
Excellent. And Vincent,
Yeah,
kick it to you.
absolutely. So yeah, kind of piggybacking off Jason's comments there, the workflow and how we can arrange stuff on a dashboard. So I'm talking more about not the pretty little, graphs and stuff, but more the power of the platform. And we'll get into this a little bit. This is in the top 5, but yeah, the ability to use the platform to guide the user experience and to whilst keeping everybody in the same, one stream in the same place, subdividing the work in such a way that it is easy for them to actually do their job, to finish their work. I love that part of it. So buttons, drop downs, combo boxes, labels, anything like that to organize any number of activities. I mean, just my most recent example is a dashboard that controls all the administrative activities that I need an administrator to do as part of a massive data load exercise, and to have it all just stuck in the back somewhere, it's almost sacrilege. So I prefer using dashboards for that aspect.
Awesome. Thank you, Vincent. Thanks, everyone. Going to navigate next to top 5. Shauna, do you want to lead us into this?
Yeah, so like we said, we would save the best for last. So we wanted to hear from, some of the top minds in OneStream and kind of get their thoughts on, hey, what are the top 5 must-knows in OneStream? If you could share that with this audience, what would that kind of most important thing in your mind be? So we'll go ahead and turn it over to Jason, who's going to kick it off with his.
Yep. So, Katie, I got a poll I wanted to put on here. I think it's just a fun little poll for everybody to answer as we get into this. And I'd kind of like to see, basically select all of the things you remember when you've dealt with OneStream. Do you remember Craig Colby actually running the WebEx because he only had 5 employees? You remember they used extensibility in every third word of a sentence, or Xscale and the picture with all the squiggly lines, the architecture diagram, the iPhone analogy, and the old OneStream color and logo.
I think people remember a few things, Jason.
I hope so.
They love.
We're not going to take a lot of time on here, but
I was going to say they really love that iPhone analogy.
They do, and that segues in. So while the polls are rolling in, I'm going to start talking. To me, if I were to go back and talk to myself when I was just getting involved, I thought when OneStream kept talking about the platform and the squiggly lines and the iPhone, that it was a bunch of hot air. I thought it was Hyperion Financial Management 2.0. And while it is the natural successor to HFM, because there's nothing on the market that even has parity with HFM, other than OneStream is much, much more. So they stepped back and said, how can we be this is a great result here. So only the oldest of us remember Craig Colby running the marketing WebExes, but I am one of those guys. And after that, I have had the pleasure of actually presenting with Craig Colby on WebExes and in person. So great answer. So when I go back, I didn't realize, and it takes a while to realize really how critical and important this platform mentality is. So, coming from HFM, I would always go put the data in the cube. Well, you know what? If you got millions and millions of records, OneStream gives you a different way of doing that. They can handle that. And Melissa's going to talk about that, so I'm not going to dwell on it very much. But this idea that you can do dashboards, that you've got these business rules, all of that is really proving that you've got a platform. The fact that you can have extensible dimensionality and you can plan at one level and do your actuals at another, or have another cube that has daily information, which is one of them I did with a client, is really fantastic. So I remember I presented at a splash with one of our clients, and she said the exact same thing. She's like, I had no idea how powerful this platform mentality is until I started seeing my daily and monthly information side by side. I could perform analytics, I could do my planning, I could do my people planning, and it all brings it together. So I thought it was hot air. I was wrong. It is awesome. Selvin, your thoughts?
Yeah, like I was explaining earlier, when I started with OneStream, that's why I picked up that. My main project was to enhance Task Manager, and that's where I had to learn the hard way of creating charts with SQL. But you don't have to necessarily do that. I know Ryan, who works for us, has a blog post on how you can change the charts using business rules. So if you have to enhance it, whatever you have in there, all and good, but you need to put a label there or change a series point of charts, you have that option. That's the flexibility part of OneStream, where you can enhance things with business rules, which are, if that extra oomph that you need, you can do that within a rule and override it. So that's something which I didn't know when I started.
All right. So Melissa, I started stealing your thunder and I looked down on the list and I shut up. It's your turn.
So I think one of my top five was definitely being able to create tables, especially for details that you don't want in the cube by creating your own tables with SQL. I think that's really powerful. There's plenty of use cases out there where you have lots and lots and lots of data, but you don't necessarily need that to be consolidated or a part of the cube. Using the ability to create tables with SQL is very powerful. And you guys saw that in my presentation today, where I created a table with some additional details that I didn't necessarily want to house in a cube. And then I was able to also visualize it and put it into a dashboard. Vincent?
Yeah, so building on that, Melissa, that's the large part of what I do in some of the specialty planning stuff that we do is building tables with SQL and embedding those in dashboards. So kind of just rounding that whole conversation out. But outside of that, my top five is getting the data units right and the dimension library right. I spent a lot of time in my earlier engagements figuring out how OneStream performs really well and when OneStream doesn't perform really well. And even as recent as this week, I basically ripped up something that I was doing and did it a whole different way just because of data units and dimensions. So, figuring out the size of what the data looks like when it goes into a cube and what the dimension library needs to look like to be most productive, and even how many cubes you need. We're so our legacy mindset from one cube kind of Hyperion world or S-Space, or even multiple cubes for multiple things and what that comes with. Being able to extend the solution and using the right cubes, the right cube setup and the right dimension setup, relational cubes and all that good stuff. That's definitely my love of OneStream is figuring all that out and how do the two tie together? How does actuals work with planning and all the hybrid scenarios that came afterwards and all that stuff that kind of spoiled us afterwards, having been in the trenches to begin with and figuring that all out is definitely my top five.
All right. Well, I'm going to round it up with extensibility and the XFBRs. I mean, the power of having extensibility with the various dimensions, I think, is critical. It's something that takes a while to understand. So that's why I think it was not a great idea by OneStream to use it in every third word in their sales presentations, because it takes you about 2 years to really understand really what that means. And you'll notice that they don't talk about it as very much any longer. And of course, the XFBRs, as I got playing with that, to me, that was one of the most exciting learning curves that I've had in my career with OneStream. And it's because you can do anything. If you're an imaginative person, pretty much anything you can imagine, you can pull off in OneStream if you have moderate technical skills. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a Selvin to get amazing things done in OneStream. So I think we can move on to kind of a group discussion here. I will say, you know, I heard somebody say something earlier about, I think it was Vincent saying, well, I found a lot of things that work really well. I joke sometimes the reason people hire consultants is not just because we know what works well, but because we know what doesn't work well as well. And, you know, we have been through some places where customers have had demands that we have, you know, complied with, and it doesn't always work well. And we've had the chance to really learn and grow and understand what doesn't work perfectly. Also, I wanted to have one earlier comment. Melissa, I don't know if you ever remember eating at Showbiz Pizza as a kid, or you remember Showbiz Pizza?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No.
It's my gray hair, but well, McDonald's, Burger King, and Showbiz Pizza just texted me, and they want their color schemes back after they saw your basic charts and graphs. That's my biggest complaint on basic charts and graphs. I love how easy they are, but the color schemes are not modifiable, and they're Windows 95.
Not yet, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is, they've superseded it with advanced charts. So what Melissa showed is an evolution from here's what 1.0 looked like, here's what 2.0 looked like, and in BI Viewer is what 3.0 looks like. And what it proves is OneStream is continuing to invest in their platform. And I can remember before a whole lot of these features even existed.
Yeah, that's the BI Viewer. You can even pass the color palette in there, choose it from there.
With hex codes too.
Yeah.
So we just want to thank our experts for sharing their top 5 must-knows. We're going to move on and just go ahead and wrap up really quick. Just a quick announcement here at the end. Vincent, if you wanted to kind of share that with us.
This is like the thank you on top of the thank you. This is the best of the best afterwards. So you know, the power of the platform, AI, and the power of the platform, and you heard a lot about that today in terms of using the platform to its full ability. This is a webinar, not a webinar. It's actually a real expert roundtable session that we normally host, but we're inviting anybody who is on this call to this session. It's a very special session that OneStream will be demoing AI-powered platform for you all. You're welcome to attend. There'll be a Q&A to answer questions. And really the purpose of this is just to let you all know that this is coming, whether we like it or not. AI is going to be involved in FP&A process. It's just a question of how quickly you get on board. So we're giving you the opportunity as part of BDA's customer group to be part of this initiative and actually have a look at this up front and see how you can build this into your 2025 plans as well. So that's all I wanted to say there. Thanks, Shauna.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, Vincent. And thanks to all our presenters today. Just in closing, we just want to extend the invitation for anybody who would like to have a sounding board to be able to discuss options with our roundtable and do problem solving in OneStream, or looking for expert recommendations, or if you're kind of the lone admin out in your work site and you're looking for a community or a place to have some group chats, or you want to join for some of the training that you experienced today, we invite you to use a QR code to sign up for a couple of free sessions and join us on every Tuesday where we host Roundtable. And it looks like we had a hand raised at the very end. So it looks like we might have a question just before we close we might want to answer.
Bring it on.
Are they muted?
No.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like I can't find them. They raised and I think lowered their hand. So anybody who has any questions, there'll be some information following this with email, with contact information. Feel free to contact us. Again, thanks everybody for joining us today. We hope to see you on our next roundtable. Thanks everybody. Bye.
Thank you all.
Okay.